glorious Sunday to all of you Bitcoiners out there. I have back again Jonathan with me, who is a longtime blue-collar friend in Bitcoin of ours, a relentless questioner of everything. He has found additional purpose through teaching the next generation about hands-on life skills, starting a new program incorporating things like health and fitness, money, and of course, tech and Bitcoin. This project is called Forge, SC 2717, which we will learn about. It's a Christ-centered facility for young adults, forging resilient leaders through faith, grit, and essential life skills. What does 2717 refer to? If you don't know, we're going to find out. Welcome back to the podcast, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me. Glad to sit down with you again.
Yeah, it's been quite a number of months. I think you were at the beginning of the year I had John.
Yeah, I think it was back in January.
Yeah, beginning of the year. The bear market, I guess I should say, had just sort of started in a way. And ever since we've been riding that. And when people look at fiat price, you see we've seen so much drama in Bitcoin lately. When people ride through a bear, as we've seen this before, these are temporary, cyclical, and it's a good opportunity for everyone, including myself, our company, where we just sort of reconciled the core values, refocus our vision. It's a time to lean in and learn and step back and not get distracted. How has this past good part of a year been for you?
Well, it's definitely been a whirlwind on my end. Start with the fiat price bear market, which everybody was talking about how Bitcoin was going to the moon, and a lot of people got caught up in that. But I'm a firm believer in the 4-year cycles for now, and that told us a different story. But as for me, we've been just kind of head down and working on other aspects of life and building and, of course, stacking Bitcoin while we're doing so. Super thankful that the fiat price is as low as it is because I'm able to stack more. You're not gonna hear me complaining about it dip. The only time I'll complain when it dips is when I don't have any fiat to throw at it. So, just kind of been working on my personal self-sovereignty and just learning some stuff about myself and, getting out in the community and seeing what everybody's building. And that's kind of what brought my new project on was, everybody's building and I don't have a huge tech background. So I was looking for a way to incorporate that into something that could provide some value around here. And that's where my pastor and I came up with the Forge 2717 idea.
I'll bring that to stage here on X at Forge SC, South Carolina, 2717. When it's periods like this where, you can stay humble and stack, of course, but it's a good time to kind of think about, okay, what is my next step now? Where do I keep learning, growing, building? It's not just number go up. That's not why we only do this. It's much deeper and more based than that. And even more deeply than some people get into it regarding Bitcoin. Many Bitcoiners that I know are people of faith, are convicted for the additional reasons of the deepest values, the deepest meaningful things in our existence, which is their faith. Describe to me how your faith, and you can tell your faith journey as you like, how that's incorporated with your Bitcoin journey or reinforced it.
Well, I was, and to reiterate what we talked about back in January, I was raised in church and kind of when I turned 18, wasn't forced to go anymore, kind of wrote it off. Just thought it was a tool of control and, how can you trust that you got the right answers? There's no perfect truth. Nobody can know the truth. And that changed for me back in October of last year via Michael Jordan with the Bitcoin Way, just continuously talking about his faith and couldn't figure out why somebody that gets Bitcoin and I feel like I have a firm grasp on Bitcoin. You'll never know everything, but I'm always learning. So I had a firm grasp on that, and Michael and I, agreed on that, but he kept talking about his faith. So it just led to some other conversations and sent me down that rabbit hole, which has been the most fulfilling rabbit hole that I've ever been down. And it's been a whirlwind since October of last year.
When did you first come up with the idea for Forge?
Well, my wife and I have been very involved in our youth group at church, and we go to church every Wednesday night and spend a couple hours with the kids, play games. It's obviously Christ centered. We do some scripture reading and go through different scriptures and stuff like that. But I could tell that the kids weren't as engaged, and it could just be a situation where they're just kids. But
Kids
not
are
having right, absolutely. And myself, I'm not always as engaged as I should be in that setting. But just thought about a different setting, maybe that could deepen their relationship with Christ, as well as teaching them some sovereign skills that unfortunately aren't being taught anymore.
Yeah.
And I've been very, very blessed to have a great blue collar. Well, I'm a cabinet maker by trade, and been very blessed to stay extremely busy for the last few years. And I've got a 40 by 60 shop on my property, and I've got just about everything you could imagine when it comes to health and fitness. I've got a cold plunge, a sauna, a full gym. I've got auto repair center, basically, where I do all the work on my own vehicles for the most part. We're at every tool imaginable. I've got a full wood shop, and I've got my Bitcoin office area in here as well. So I wanted to see what I could do to utilize that, using my newly found faith as a way to bring kids closer to Christ, as well as teach them stuff that is not being, like I said, not being taught these days. So that Proverbs 27:17 is as one man, iron sharpens iron, basically. So just basically building each other up. That's where the name comes from.
Proverbs 27, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. And that's what you're doing.
That is the idea. For whatever reason, I've spent a lot of time learning skills, whether it's automotive repair or learning about Bitcoin and tech and stuff like that. And just didn't want that to feel like a waste. No need for that knowledge to die with me. It needs to be passed on, not toot my own horn or anything like that, but just some skills that have really helped me in life. Just passing that along. So, to the next generation.
Yeah. And kids, especially good people generally. I mean, kids are innately curious. They want to be busy. They're exploring, they're testing boundaries. You can only force them to sit in a classroom or listen to talking or reading a book. I mean, there's times and places for that, but they can't just do that. They got to be hands-on. I mean, I can know it for my kids. If I'm tinkering around in the garage, they want to be just part of it. I've got a 5-year-old that if I'm working on something, she wants to hammer a nail or sort the screws or whatever. My older boys too. It's like, oh, daddy's got projects. I got to change a tire, do these things, whatever, change the oil. Hey, get the kids involved in it, show them how. And they get distracted, they get bored, but there's good time and a place to put the phone away, tune that out, engage with what is going on, and not make it a slog of a chore, but just engage with fun skills. And honestly, they love it too. They'll remember that stuff. So you're doing that for the youth groups, building that up through the church. I know a lot of churches have their youth groups, their classes, adult classes, all kinds of groups. This may be different in a sense that you could blend in practical skills with money. What is money? Tech involved with it, and Bitcoin. Where might you start as you start to get into that stuff with maybe the basics? Have you thought that far?
Well, we've to take it back to youth group, my wife and I were able to host. We ran youth group one week when our pastor was out of town on vacation. So he gave me free reign to do whatever I wanted to do within reason, obviously. And I was able to show the kids the Tuttle Twins video about Bitcoin. It's a short 5-minute video it's it's a cartoon, but I've used that video with kids all the way up to 60-year-old men. So it's a very easily understood video. So I was able to show that to the kids, kind of talk about money and stuff like that. And our situation is a little bit different. We've got a couple kids that are here from Venezuela.
Oh, wow.
So they actually saw firsthand the hyperinflation. So that really spoke to them. They know what it's like to wake up one day and not have, you can have $1 million or whatever you want to call it, but that's not enough to buy a loaf of bread because they've printed your currency into oblivion. So that really stuck with the kids, or with a couple of kids. All the kids weren't as engaged. We got a pretty good range of kids, anywhere from 11 up to 18. Cool. So a couple of the older kids that are out of school now and are going into the adult world, they brought me, took me to the side and told me they want to learn more. So what I did for them as a first step was I just got them set up with a self-custodial wallet on their phone. Mm-hmm. And gave them some money to play around with. So I've got a couple kids that text me all the time about, hey, my that $40 is now $45, or now it's $37, and just being able to use situations like that to tell them that Bitcoin can't be printed, and that number on a screen is just the fiat denominated price. But just the basics. What Bitcoin is, how it can't be tampered with. How it's really the only self-sovereign money that exists and has ever existed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It made it a lot easier with the kids from Venezuela, having seen firsthand. It's hard to tell American kids that, you might wake up one day and your mom and dad might not be able to afford a loaf of bread. And that seems silly in the West, but
right.
I'm a firm believer that's coming everywhere. And it might be delayed a little bit here, but just to know that they've heard the word, and if it happened tomorrow, that they would at least have something to think about. Like, okay, I'm not, completely out of luck. There's something else that exists that can protect me from the debasement. So just a basic knowledge for them to start.
That's awesome. And it takes time. Some kids have to kind of feel it out or observe it for a while, be aloof, and then find their interest over time. It's not just like class one. They're like, everyone's like, yes, teach me more. It can take a little time, or they got to see that others are participating, and then it's more of a social thing, and they, grow into it a little bit, live into it. You mentioned Tuttle Twins. Right here, I just happen to have my books. Oh, I've got, so I got some of these in Vegas when at the Bitcoin conference. Our MicroSeed booth here was right next to the Tuttle Twins.
Nice.
And which was a great neighbor to have because they're very popular. And they make great stuff for youth and all that. So this is volume 2 of a box set of their comics and stuff. But all these great topics. I've got box 3. Box 1 is next door in my son's room. And for the older readers, American history books, good stuff for older readers, a good mix of pictures and easy to read, accessible, digestible. So shout out to the Tuttle Twins for making great content for youth and parents, helping out parents. So, and the cartoons, of course, are an easy access, and for all ages, you get adults who don't know what money is. We grew up in America where the dollar is just this, in our head, some kind of a gold standard for a national reserve, and it's static and stable, and it's not. And so what is money is a harder question to answer for Americans. So you get a lot of youth that grow up thinking that money just occurs. Stuff should just happen. The dollar's fine. Why isn't there more stuff? And then this kind of overgrown, privileged elite of culture expects things to be done for them, or that it's somebody else's responsibility, or that people with wealth are greedy. And it's like, understanding the nature of economies is a whole nother thing, in addition to what is our money? And in the face of Bitcoin, what is money? It's such a rabbit hole. So you might start with a cartoon and then get them on a path to really evaluate what you do with your time and energy for value, and how do you store that if you see what the dollar is. It's almost like learning first like what fiat is, and there's fiat currency, and the dollar is not immune. Actually, the dollar, maybe it's the better of the worst, but that runway is getting short in terms of what I see happening in the macro economy and with war and all this stuff is a tension of like, it's the big print is not even started. And so a lot's coming. A lot is really coming. And if and when it does, describe how you're situating yourself with your farm and ranch and family and community and church, how your lifestyle there is more immune from the dramatic calamities you might see in the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm huge on self-sovereignty. So everything that I can provide for myself or have a way to provide, a good source that's not at the supermarket or at the, on Amazon, just trying to nail down everything, food, water, shelter. We're good with shelter, but just the base, you nail down the basics first, and then you kind of go from there. I want to say that I'm hopeful for the best, but you got to be prepared for the worst, unfortunately.
Yeah. And there's a real peace of mind. We touched on it the last time you were on, but it's always in my mind of worst case scenario, stuff happens, whatever. And maybe it's temporary. Maybe it doesn't quite go away entirely, and things are different. There's a real peace of mind in knowing that you're not beholden to all the supply chains or the wishful thinking or even nefarious plans of the state or other people. The concept of sovereignty itself. When you have some of that for yourself, at least some, you don't have to be reactive. You can step back, chill, and go, okay. I mean, like, we're fine. Things are different, but you have your water, you have your food, you have your shelter, you have your Bitcoin, say. And so whether it's a rainy day or the weather of the future and for a forever war, there's a freedom there, and it shifts your whole mindset of how you look at the world and everything. So it's much more based. When it comes to your faith, I think I could describe it in my own way, but describe how compatible and intertwined faith is for you with Bitcoin. Their compatibilities and how they reinforce each other.
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as far as that goes, I mean, Bitcoin has been extremely. I mean, if not for me learning about Bitcoin and happen to hear a couple other people speak about it, I don't know that I would ever came back to my faith or revisited my faith. There's a million different rabbit holes out there, and I've spent a lot of time chasing a lot of them that looking back, it kind of seemed like a waste of time because there's no way to control it, nothing I could do about it. But my faith, I mean, it's newfound, obviously, but it is definitely growing. I read my Bible every morning. I try to read it in the afternoons too. Just there's so many verses about money. There's so many verses about just the same ideals that Bitcoiners have, where you provide value, or you don't, you equal weights and measures. It's so intertwined. There's so many good books too, like Pastor Coin or Alan Armstrong's got a great book called The Bible and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it just goes, outlines how, money is spoken about a lot in the Bible. And every time they describe it, how it should operate, it reinforces that I do use the best money and the most biblical money, in my opinion. Yeah. But like I said, my faith is it's growing every day. And it's something that I'm building on. I went through a little bit of a period where I didn't really want to, I wasn't interested, kind of felt bad about the amount of time that I'd spent learning about Bitcoin and stuff like that when when I could have been learning more about Christ and more, read more scripture and stuff like that. But getting through that led me to where we're at now with Forge 2717 is I can take all those skills and that weren't necessarily a waste. It's not a waste to have a gym or to, take care of yourself or anything like that, but to incorporate that with my faith and then, put these kids on what in my opinion would be a better path going forward, and something that I, not taking anything away from my parents, but I never sat down and had a conversation about what money is, or I never had a conversation about why we were supposed to just accept 2% inflation, or just all sorts of conversation. No talking about how much better your brain works whenever you're exercising and you're eating right, or just being able to do stuff for yourself without anytime something breaks, you don't have to call somebody. You can troubleshoot it yourself, and especially with all the tech and the AI and stuff we've got now. I tell my wife all the time that I kind of feel invincible sometimes. Like, yeah, I can do that, or I can figure it out. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right. But it's not always the easy path. But just faith and Bitcoin and Christ and Bitcoin are just so intertwined to me. And it's I've got a huge community that I spend time with, talk with all the time, and some really good Bitcoiners, really based Bitcoiners, in my opinion, that view Bitcoin the same way as me, that are that just every bit as faithful as I am. And that's important to have too. People that you can bounce ideas off of, and people that have had their faith for a lot longer than me, have seen or have had some of those questions answered that maybe I've reached out and asked, or just theological stuff like that. So just building a community. I've got a great group of people around me here, and I got them here in real life, and then I've also got them online, which that brings me to another thing. I'm actually going to my first conference, the Midwest Bitcoin Conference.
Oh yeah,
in September. So I'll get to meet a couple of guys like Adam Semeka and Michael, and there's a ton of people that I interact with all the time online. So I'm excited to spend some time in real life chatting with those guys too.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I can go because I've got a 5-year-old starting kindergarten, and I got to fit plans into life and see what my schedule looks like. But let's see here, bringing this up to stage here. Yeah, here we go. Midwest Bitcoin Summit, September 23rd to 24th, Columbus, Ohio. This is a good based one. When I think of like BitBlock Boom or Prague, it's one of those, non-Bitcoin magazine styles of a conference. It has a lot of great speakers there. So like you mentioned, Adam and others, they're going to be there speaking, and there's Adam. And anyway, so yeah, if you can make it to that, I'd love to I'd like to try to go. Don't know if I can or not, but anyway, that's awesome. That'll be super fun. Bitcoin is such a rabbit hole that we do really have to balance our time around it when you have family, a life, because you can really spend and dedicate a lot of interested, passionate time. And then we talked about it last time, but yeah, making sure that I make my time for that, but then I also pull away and not get consumed as well, because I have to be here now for family, for work and life and everything else. So balancing all that all around, and just as iron sharpens iron, it took other good people that I'm either met online, got lucky enough to meet in person, meet at conferences, and learn from. You can't, many of us are like yourself. We're relatively autodidactic. We can seek and be curious and learn, but and you can do a lot of just learning on your own, but having a community out there or good mentors, friends that you can bounce stuff off and learn from are important. Shout out to the Bitcoin Way, but you met Michael Jordan and a lot of those guys, really, really based guys. I love listening to their podcasts. You're a big fan. I tune in when I can live. Tony's rants are great. And when I start to get a little distracted or uh, spread thin on what all is going on in the world. It's folks like that and other mentors that I have that kind of rebase me and keep me focused. Like, oh, okay, right, big picture here, steady as we go. Don't get too distracted, because there's been a lot of distraction lately.
that you're not kidding about that. Like you're saying, spending time with the family is the most important thing, and that Bitcoin, it can be viewed as a god in a sense, and people think it's going to save the world. And I used to be a save or fix the money, fix the world kind of guy, but now I'm like, hey, human action is what's going to fix the world. You can't, even going to a Bitcoin standard overnight is not going to fix some of the problems that we have in society, unfortunately. It's going to take human action, and that's again, that's what led me to what can I do to give back and to teach, so when that Bitcoin standard world does come around, that people aren't caught with not knowing what's going on, or just stuff like that. Just giving them a nice something to go from that point.
Fewer people lost or captured by the wrong statist actions or solutions or whatever. Yeah, I on the Forge page here recently, one of the books you were reading. Oh, and I'll read this. This is your statement here for Forge SC 2717 here. Dedicated to shaping young adults into resilient, Christ-centered leaders by forging strong character through the timeless wisdom of Scripture, as iron sharpens iron. Creating a community where young people grow in their personal relationship with Jesus Christ as the foundation for all of life. Hands-on training and biblical teaching. Equipping participants with essential life skills, including financial stewardship and all the things we talked about here. Transforming young adults to walk closely with Jesus and serve others, thrive as faithful stewards in every area of life. We believe that when Christ is at the center, every skill becomes a tool for his glory and the advancement of his kingdom. It's good to keep things in perspective for kids, because there are so many distractions for people generally. And so kids especially need to have that foundation. Like, basically, if it's not discussed or talked about or shown by their community, well, it'll come to them elsewhere, and they'll either or they'll be lost. You do see kids that really don't have a sense of purpose or sense of, like, I don't know, like, I was pretty black pilled. And I think we've shared like that sense of just kind of being black pilled until either we found Bitcoin or some other sense of faith about it all. And so, yeah, for me as well, Bitcoin was a conduit to a whole shift in solution-oriented thinking and filling that void that I was feeling that had no answer. And so you're just kind of like, well, kind of doomer, just, well, I guess that's what it is. Like, so what then? Gold and I don't know. And there was no escape, but right. There are escapes. I think at times it's almost it almost behooves state actors to have a populace that doesn't have other options, and so they rely and lean and expect more and more from a state, and it propels that endless cycle of a welfare state. So right. You're freeing people.
Yep, everybody's gonna serve something, whether it's the state or whether it's Jesus or whether it's Bitcoin or whether everybody offers their service, and whether they know it or not, to something. So just having that Christ-centered, everything goes back to my Bible, and then building out from there has been super important for me and been such a blessing.
Yes, that's awesome. And there are bad and evil things in this world, and people who are lost find that as something to fill a void as well, which is no bueno. So scrolling down on your feed here too, tell me about, if you will, this book. I hadn't heard of this book. You talked about a youth group Bible study and sharing sharing a message that our identity comes from our Creator, not social media or any other human or worldly institution, but from God alone. Is this a book you read recently? And tell me about this one.
Yeah, that's the most recent Bible study that we've started at church. It's for our youth group, and it just basically kids are very impressionable, so they just knowing that how many likes you got on social media or what this person says about you, that none of that defines you. The Bible is very clear about how we were created. Who we were created to be and what we were created to do. So just basically just giving that kids that basically that Christ-centered, this is what I was made to do. I'm not weird. This is how I was made. Just being defined by that and not by all the stuff that goes on in the world.
Yeah. Because it's so addictive. Just the sheer dopamine alone from social media, pure approval, not knowing who you are because you're constantly trying to fit it in around and for others. And it's not even for them. It may be for something worse
Right.
that's managing all of that. So yeah. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, I have a spectrum of people in my family who are not spiritual to very specific flavors of Christianity. Some of those family that are devout Christian in my world, when they've known I'm into Bitcoin for years, and they're variously curious, but I don't know if you've ever run into this, so I want to ask. They very much recognize that the dollar, our fiat currency, that taxation and interest loans and all these kinds of structures in the finance world are not godly or are even like bad. And then also seeing what's coming, digital ID, CBDCs, all these things, they straight up recognize what that is, and it connects with them with scripture and the mark and all these things. Like they see that. And then but I don't think they have a solution or an alternative other than, gold is natural or human to human trade and barter is good and natural, but they don't really have a sense of a fix, but they know through me about Bitcoin. I think that for some of them, when I talk about Bitcoin, some of them see it as man-made, digital. I don't know enough about it to trust it. There's a little resistance potentially from, that is not of nature. Is it like a CBDC or digital mark, if you will? Do you ever get people that question Bitcoin out of a sense of faith or scripture in that way, conflating it, say, with digital ID, CBDC stuff? Oh, I don't know if you locked up on me. I don't hear you right now. Hopefully your internet connection's okay. In any case, in my world, he'll join back in a bit. I think he popped out. So when he joins back, I will just share my story about my family where I've talked about Bitcoin. And so, you know how orange pilling can go anyway when you're with family or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's interesting, or all the FUD questions and everything about it. So there's that. And then when you have people in your life, in your family who are religiously faithful or orthodox in a way, I've had people in my orbit who see Bitcoin as another digital tracking, non-natural money. And so they don't trust it and they don't like it. So anyway, it's something that I grapple with. And so for those of you with religious or spiritual people in your life or your world, I don't know if you deal with that as well. I'm going to bring to stage here part of scripture that I found in King James that resonates with some of this here. of course, there's this funny modified picture of Jesus turning the tables here and the banking industry. And I think this resonates deeply with some people who see what money could be done better. Where is, oh yeah, Luke. Let me bring up Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2. And this is a little chunk here. It says, and this is part of the origin story for Jesus. And it's interesting how it starts here. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And all went to be taxed, every one in his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, under the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary and his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. I found that interesting. You're back. I jumped to Luke 2 real quick because it brought up some early initial things about the story of Mary and Joseph coming to Bethlehem, and they were going there to go get registered, and that Caesar Augustus had said that all the world should be taxed, and it just connected to along the lines of what we were talking about. Sorry to have you jump off there for a moment, but what's the last thing you heard from me?
Yeah, sorry about that. We got a thunderstorm going on, so
okay.
I guess the lightning strike decided to reset my router.
Okay. Well, hopefully we don't have too much trouble here. We'll try to keep you on if we can. My question posed about family who is ever suspicious about Bitcoin because they don't understand the nature of it, but they also can conflate it with digital ID, CBDCs, not completely natural, made by man, the corruptibility of it. Do you ever have people suspicious of it for religious reasons? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, everybody in my family knows that I'm a Bitcoiner, and I don't. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you. Your video is just a little splotchy sometimes.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes,
but
all my family knows that I'm a Bitcoiner, and I've answered questions to everybody.
Yeah, and do they ever? So they'll say, because they'll be quite aware of CBDCs and all that, but then they are careful with Bitcoin because they're not sure if it could be the same or used as the same, maybe captured by a state and just used in that direction. Is there that kind of FUD at all?
Yeah, that definitely comes up. I've got my business partner that worked with for the last 15 years. He got some Bitcoin. He's got it in cold storage. He listens to me talk about it all the time. We're obviously aware of what's going on with the AI centers and the data centers and the flock cameras and all that stuff, and how to turn into CBDCs via the stable coins. And it's hard for him to make that connection that Bitcoin is different than all that. This most recent cold card issue has brought up more questions on, I thought it couldn't be hacked. Right. Explaining to somebody that, Bitcoin wasn't a Bitcoin problem. It wasn't a self-custody problem. It was the entropy on one. I was able to crack that. And that definitely had me refiguring my setup. I've definitely held Bitcoin on seeds that have been generated on a cold card. I was a cold card user up until that point. I actually got stuck where I didn't have anything but my cold card Q and an MK4 because I thought it was the best. I was definitely guilty of the don't trust, verify, and I didn't verify. Now, I was, by the grace of God, and a Bitcoin Sessions video dice roll guy. So I was thankful that when that happened, I wasn't exposed by having my seed generated on the machine. So definitely thankful for that. But I've had to revisit my whole setup because I was quite comfortable in what I had, how I had it set up, only to be shocked like everybody else was a couple weeks ago, where hey, you need to. It's a continuous thing, and it's going to be a continuous thing now. And I absolutely hate it for everybody that's lost Bitcoin. It's terrible because Cold Card was shilled as the best around. Don't trust, verify. A lot of, and it's unfortunate for them too, because a lot of the features and stuff on their machines are great. I still love my Cold Card queue. I'm not going to use it anymore now that I got my seed signer, but it is very unfortunate. But it's one of those growing pains in Bitcoin. And it's never going to put those people's sats back in their wallets, which is extremely unfortunate. But if it can save, putting some sats back in your wallet when Bitcoin's trading at the fiat price it is now versus 10 years from now having that issue, just everybody coalescing and teaching and helping one another has been really eye-opening for me too, as far as the community goes. The people like the Bitcoin Way helping all their clients, everybody putting out videos and tracking it and telling people what exactly happened and how to be safe. I got multiple calls from people that I've never met in real life, just saying, hey, make sure you got it set up at least like this, at a bare minimum, have it like this. Just so thankful for the people in the community through this time, helping people out. But Bitcoin education is an ongoing thing, and a lot of people got caught, being complacent, and that's extremely unfortunate because all those people that lost funds through Cold Card thought they did the right thing, and up until 2 weeks ago, they had done the right thing. They had properly entropied what they thought, seed, and we're good. Only to find wallets drained. I can't imagine what that would be like to log on and check one of your wallets and see those funds flow out, knowing that there's nothing. The beauty of Bitcoin is it's final, but that's also, it's a double-edged sword because there's no customer service you can call but that's also the beauty of it, is that it is final.
The zeitgeist in Bitcoin awareness right now has shifted quite a bit positively for awareness and education around entropy, still to self-custody, but to really do that right. And there's a lot more now eyes, and the importance of looking at the code, having properly, free and open source, like what do we know what it's doing? And are we really looking at it, or are the right people doing it and communicating in the right way, so that we're not just having to trust so much or saying, well, they said it does what it's supposed to do and it must be because it's done it forever or for years. And when that got yanked or surprised, a lot of people they were trying to do the right thing, and they didn't go all the way, but they took the first next good step, doing it right. And it's so painful. It was a really busy handful of days, week there for me, where I didn't personally use Cold Card. I did other things, but still, I had to check my setup and think through what it was that I did and how I did it, and go, okay, no, I'm good. But then who do I know that may do that or have that? And I couldn't even think of it all. And at first I didn't entirely know what was going on either. Like, what is this bug? How deep does it go? Oh, maybe it's just this one device. Oh, wait, no, it's more. Oh, maybe it's worse than we thought. But it has a ceiling in terms of what it was. Bitcoin didn't break, but changing your setup, fixing your setup. Tell me about what you leaned in on and what you've discovered since then in terms of your education and new techniques that you've thought of.
I've rolled a lot of dice in the last few weeks. and I didn't, like I said, I was stuck with a Q and an MK4 when it happened. I knew my seed was safe, but I knew that, it wouldn't hurt to make it a little bit more secure. So, went through the process of upgrading the firmware, and then rolling dice, and then using other tools to verify those dice rolls. Because at that point, you don't know what to try. You're like, is it just spitting out, low entropy seeds? Am I, if I roll the dice 100 times, am I really getting the 256-bit entropy?
Yeah.
So just verifying that. And I did 3 or 4 different tests using Ian Coleman's BIP39 offline.
I've got that
tool just to make sure that the seeds were good. I had a good idea from a friend in a local Bitcoiner group. I've got a MacBook back here that I bought off eBay for $50. It's a 2011 MacBook. And you can pull the Wi-Fi card out of it and use a USB stick to run Tails OS, which gives you a free Electrum wallet, but also use the Ian Coleman on a separate USB stick to generate seeds. So I've got a dedicated seed machine that will never touch the internet, has no ability to touch the internet. So just little things, like little projects like that. And like I said, rolling a lot of dice. I just recently placed a couple orders with MicroSeed and got y'all's new the new base plate kit.
Oh, cool. Nice.
And I got some new washers because I was going to have to stamp out some seeds. So just been playing around with that and just revisiting, not having everything in one location, and diving into multi-sig and stuff like that. Just making sure that I feel comfortable putting my head on the pillow at night, that some AI hacker and like the hackers were not even like, it could have been state sponsored, but it was like, the way I understand it, it was just, a couple guys with a laptop and some AI that were able to break these seeds. So just making sure that that's not a concern, and just diving back into the learning about it and making sure that that doesn't get stagnant.
Yeah, we still say, hey, you need to take self custody. It's still not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And then when you have your passphrases properly generated, now you don't open this online when you're using it, but just as an example here, you can search for and download Ian Coleman's mnemonic code converter and generate words, and also I've seen people that, like, whether they rolled dice or did anything about it, they generated 12 words or 24 words, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's an address, a proper checksum validated address. That last word or those words, they have to validate. I mean, for the most part, the 12 random words will not validate. That last word at least has to pass a checksum to make it valid. So
right,
people got to do that right. And then rolling dice. I got like my Bitcoin dice here, just as an example. I actually, from Bowl Bitcoin, I don't think they sell these online, but they have cards, and you can shuffle cards, and
right.
and then they've got the words on the cards. So you deal them out, or you shuffle them. You deal a couple of different cards, and then one refers to the other, and that's your word. There's a lot of different creative ways to do that, but it helps just make sure you get entropy, analog, random, worldly entropy engaged in that. And then with MicroSeed, of course, you get those words, take self-custody, stamp it on steel. You can get that on your little washer. And then our most recent version here is the prices come down a lot because we've been able to make the manufacture and the number of parts less expensive. And so it's easy to click, and you can line up. Instead of having a table, it's just on the dial there, and the dial comes right off, and then you got your washer in there as well. So You can do it, folks. Just don't psych yourself out, but also don't rush. So, for example, you roll your entropy, you pass your checksum, you have an address, and then you do a test, and you make sure that, okay, this works. And my whole process, the way I did it, is like offline and clean and clear, and then it worked. Now you got a good address that you can dump to or whatever. And then also then, okay, putting your eggs in one basket or adding a passphrase, not just having like, well, I got one good solution, so I'm just going to whole hog on that. Diversification in that regard is good as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of things to think about. None of it's really rocket science, but it's all part of this education that we just advocate for, still taking self-custody, because that is the freedom. Everything else, it's interesting, the scare over self-custody and how Bitcoin didn't break, but it was one particular manufacturer's particular RNG on particular hardware. Now, is it deeper than that? My mind has entertained just thinking about it, which others will call conspiracy. I will call it thinking. And
Right.
yes, I have wondered about conspiracy of, how weird is this though? The timing of it, the nature of it, how we didn't see it, who wrote this code, why was NVK such an ass about it? All the things. And it very well, just human error. Sure. And then the ego and pride that covered that over, and then it just worked well enough that influencers, because of the brand and the narrative, were like, no, it's cool. And all of that crazy, horrible failure exists. And I think the cold card hardware does so many amazing things.
Right.
So if you're doing the right things about it, it's hard to trust after you got bit. But
Right.
that cold card does a lot of cool things. So if you're using it well and right, I would not say that, oh, you should trash it. It's more like, yeah, do you trust the firmware until you've been able to read the source code, or enough people that know about it know exactly how it works? Do we see the source code? Is this what it's doing? Do we know yet? No. But it does a lot of other things very well. And if you're creating your own entropy and your own seed words and generating your own address, and you can verify all that with Coleman's work and everything else, it is a good tool. It's just that we got so horribly burnt that they may be cooked. Cold card may be done.
Yeah, I mean, they probably deserve that.
Yeah.
But I can see both sides of it. I can, maybe somebody else comes along, not NVK, and takes over the actual the hardware itself are cutting edge in my opinion, easy to use, and just they're going to be the most scrutinized firmware and software going forward, no doubt. But all eyes are going to be on basically all of them, and you've seen that with like Callie and his red team, just going through. He had the issue with Bitcoin Pay Server.
Yep.
He had the issue with bolts, which affected one of my main wallet, which is Mana Wallet. And I know Adam and the team are working hard to get the swaps back, but it just seemed odd, the timing of everything, especially knowing that there was a chain split coming.
Yeah.
Not too long after that, and just how they control the narrative to say, oh, self-custody, nobody's going to roll dice, or nobody wants to roll dice, or just go buy the ETF, or just let Coinbase hold it, or just let Strike hold it, or it's just very disheartening, because I can see somebody that doesn't understand Bitcoin or doesn't understand what the issue was saying, look, I'm not ever going to touch this again. They said it couldn't be hacked and they got hacked. Or saying, I'm going to hold it, but I'm going to hold it via ETF and just hold a, big old fat fiat IOU that doesn't solve anything. It's very unfortunate the people that will not even ever entertain self-custody because of this issue. But at the same time, as early as we are, the people that believe in it, like I do, like yourself does, they're just going to dig in harder and make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that's that's going to fortify a lot of people's finances, in my opinion, and you'll come out on the other side a lot more self-sovereign than you were before.
Yeah, what some people will say, we'll call conspiracy theorizing. I will call critical thinking when done appropriately. But there was a timing to a lot of this stuff where, okay, we're at the very lowest part of a bear market, and historically August is always harder on par, and yet we are approaching the beginning of, call it the next cycle, but still a lot of things breaking loose, and there's just this tension that's about to release on all the money and all the worldly things going on. There's this tension that's just waiting to pop. So there's that background environment. And then we have the upcoming soft fork, or what was going to be soft fork, which is really
a soft fork.
Yeah, talking about it like a soft fork when really it's a hard fork. There was that. We saw that unfold, and then all the divisive narratives about that. And some people, whether you want to say people have lost the plot or what side are you on and all the things, for me, Bitcoin has the longest chain, and it's TikTok next block. Bitcoin is still running and working. It functions. There's that. Then the thing with bolts and BTC Pay Server. And of course, we have red teams looking now, importantly, looking and scrutinizing using quality AI, Kimmy and others, to hit it and find stuff. So they're finding stuff. And so we're nipping, tucking, cleaning all these things up. But man, right at the end of July up into through today, we've had a couple of weeks here of just sheer like hammer. And it's like, what is going on here? You could say this stuff can happen. It's kind of like we hit peak resonance with a wave here, and it just so happened. It's also wild, the pace of it all, week after week, of all the things. It scares a lot of people off. And what we've seen happen, and what I was worried about happening, is that we don't lose any good Bitcoiners, or that we lose the opportunity to gain good potential Bitcoiners to do it right, because people get scared off, they get hurt, they get bit, they don't understand, they buy into FUD or propaganda, and it puts a chill on the zeitgeist about it all. And so there's that kind of attack, if you will, at some level on Bitcoin, attacks or rug pulls or random events that all just collided. So for those of us who stick to it, keep educating, don't lose the plot, it really is still critically important that like the timing is ripe now to be doing this and stacking, because I think, whether it's this fall or next year, we'll have been glad that we, whether through preparation and education and luck and hard work, that we did it right and stuck to it when we did, because I think in hindsight, it'll be validating again that just like we got through past calamities, even over the years ago, our stubborn work on it is going to pay off, because the why has not changed. Has the why about any of this changed at all for you through all of this mess?
Nope. Bitcoin is here to separate money and state. And the only way you can separate money and state is to not have to ask anybody's permission to use it. And that is only achieved via proper self-custody. So that has not, I'm glad that I had that. I can imagine if I was just a number go up maxi, or, just what's the latest fad. I can imagine how all this news and the height of the bear market would have taken a toll. And I've heard, OG Bitcoiners talk about like Mount Gox and stuff like that. And a lot of people have said that these particular incidents were worse than that, in their opinion, because it attacked at the heart of Bitcoin, and definitely at the heart of Bitcoin is to me, which is self-custody. And I believe we're all, obviously we've coalesced, and we're going to emerge stronger on the other side, and give it another year or 5 years, and this will be we'll be telling everybody that, hey, where were you whenever Cold Card got hacked, or Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride, but it's just kind of refocused my training, because you got a couple different options when it comes to self custody. You can hundreds or thousands of hours learning it yourself, or you can use one of these white glove services like Bitcoin Way that walks you through every step. And I for whatever reason, I put it all on myself to learn, because I've had the time to do it. But you don't have to spend thousands of hours learning about it. You can properly secure your stuff by just giving Tony and the guys a call. And there's other services too, but none that I would recommend short of the Bitcoin Way. Just spending that time to learn.
Yeah, these calamities are really strengthening to Bitcoin in the long term. Hard as they've been, and wild and asymmetric or crazy as they've been, it's educational. And for me, who felt like, oh no, I know all the things and how to do things, it's given me a realization of, oh, like when I'm really personally orange pilling people, I got to do that carefully and right, and not just say, oh yeah, just do this, get that, take self custody, grandma. It's like, no, make sure that people you secure do it well and do it right. And when I was grappling with all the noise and the things and the news and then dramas and narratives, of course, and sorting it out and getting hooked on the eating popcorn, watching the show, going, whoa, it was things like the Bitcoin Way, Tony's rants, where he would hammer it out again and stick to the core why and how we do this. And it reminds me, oh yeah, I mean, I haven't lost the plot. My why has not changed. And if anything, I'm just extra aware and careful to do it right and guide others well. In addition to the Bitcoin Way, so as you learn, what podcasts and sources do you learn from? Where do you go to catch up on things?
Well, I obviously listen to Bitcoin Liberty Live, but short of that, I try to listen to every Bitcoin Way live. Learned a lot, not necessarily as far as practices and stuff from those guys, but just what Bitcoin really is and how it's supposed to be used. Definitely learned that from them. As far as the technical side, there's tons of different resources. I've learned a lot from Bitcoin Sessions, BTC Sessions. He's great. And for whatever reason, when I set up my cold card queue, I watched his dice roll video, and one of the first lines in there was, "Hey, you can trust this device to generate your seed, or you can roll dice." And I'm like, well, the whole reason I'm here is not to have to trust anybody. So for what I count myself as lucky, because there's a lot of people that that did generate their seeds that way, but just not being able to trust anything. BTC Sessions, Adam Semeka at Mana Wallet, he's walked me through some things, helped me with some stuff. I try to keep it. I don't want to, I've listened to some of the more mainstream podcasts in the past, and kind of got tired of, they beat the same beat a dead horse. With the same, look at the price, or the price is pumping, or the ETFs did this much in volume, and just they've kind of lost the plot, in my opinion. So just making sure, because my time is my most precious resource. So guarding my time against mindless Bitcoin talk has been a goal, definitely a goal of mine in the last few months. So just finding people that feel about it the same way and can articulate it like you guys can is important to me. Just just as a reminder. Not that I need reminding, but it is good to during this whole cold card mess, people were, I'm going to sell it for, and then you're going to sell it for what? What are you going to sell it for?
That's just it. What's the alternative? Like, right. I got to a point where it's like, I know it won't, but let's just imagine Bitcoin had some weird, deep, critical failure capture event that we running nodes couldn't still use it. So then what's the alternative? So okay, so you can have your gold or metals or your analog supplies for life and living, but as in terms of money or storing of your time and energy, so then what is your alternative really? There's nothing. There would be nothing. So
Right.
it's Bitcoin or local community living, basically. Ideally both. So,
Right.
And we're gonna have both. So Bitcoin continues to function and run. When I listen to the other podcasts, that even when it's like it's stuff I've known, or oh yeah, it reinforces what I know. It does energize me, even if I'm working and it's in the background. It's like oh yeah, yep. I'm not forgetting anything here. And I feel that connection with people who are still in it for the same reasons we are. Thinking of your daily spiritual life, do you mind sharing what you studied today about that? What you thought about today in terms of your spiritual journey and your faith?
Well, this morning I read Romans 10 and 11. I try to read a couple chapters every morning, and I'm crossing off my books. I'm going to read the entire Bible. I started at the beginning of the year on a path to read from Old Testament to New Testament, and I kind of lost interest with some of the Old Testament stuff. It can get a little repetitive, and kind of wanted to go to the good part. So I skipped over to the New Testament with Christ and what we're supposed to do going forward. Just reading Romans and just reading Paul's letter to the Romans about different issues in the church and what we were called to do. Now the sermon today, I went to church this morning, and the sermon today with the pastor was on one of Jesus's parables in Matthew 25, the parable of the 10 talents, or the parable of the talents. I'm sorry. Basically, a servant, some servants are given a talent, which is, I think, 20 years worth of wage. And the master leaves for a while and comes back. Had one servant that was given 5 talents, one servant that was given 2, and one servant that was given 1. The servant with the 5 talents took the 5 talents and invested it back into the community, and was able to give the master 10 talents back at the end. The servant with the 2 did the same thing, doubled it, got his 2, and the servant with the 1 kind of took his talent and buried it to preserve it for the master. And kind of the idea behind that is, we've all been given different gifts by God. It's not necessarily a financial thing. Jesus actually, it was a financial, the talent was a wage. So it was kind of money there, but it has more than one meaning. Just to take whatever talents you've been given, and not everybody's as talented as the next person, but I believe that we're all uniquely created, and we all have something that we excel at, and just taking that and using that for the good of the church, and to show Jesus to others is extremely important. And that kind of tied into what we're trying to do at Forge 2717, which is I've not like I said, not patting myself on the back, but I've learned a lot of skills that are useful and have helped me and helped others. And I just want to be able to pass that along and just give back more than what I was given. And that that lines up with what Bitcoiners want to just taking those gifts and passing them along.
Yeah, it speaks to what you're doing with your program and Forge SC 2717, giving back, not just getting what you can and then tucking that away and saving it. That doesn't feed you so well. It's the relationships we have, the community we build, how we pass that on and think about future generations. It's interesting how the word used in the Bible in that regard, talent, was like a bar of metal, a money, a wage, and that also as talent, it's beyond just sheer money and number go up value stuff. The idea of talents being where we put our time and energy, what we learn, how we apply our knowledge, what we create and produce and create value in the world. use our talents, and teaching those talents to others through youth group and all that. It's beautiful, and it's amazing work you're doing. Let me bring to stage here then. I will show people how to get to connect to your Forge program here. You're on X Forge SC 2717. Find Forge on X. You can find Jonathan Strickland here at jstrick85 here on X, and good feed here, and conversation with Pastor Coyne and Adam Semeka recently on a podcast there. So I like to stay connected with good plebs who find good things, and also with the Bitcoin Way and Tony's rants. I know there's times where I want to catch Tony's highlights, but honestly, the whole thing can be a good listen that way too. Right. So, what do you have planned next, do you think, for Forge as it continues forward? What might a week from now, a month from now look like for you?
Well, one thing I've prayed about it a lot, and I don't want to rush anything. We're having an impact with youth group, and we got relationships that we're building with the kids through that. So currently, my shop we're renovating our house right at the moment. I've got half of my house gutted to the studs. Actually, wow. Was framing a shower up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So we're working on that, and I've put it off for a while. So that does take priority because my wife's not happy about it. Some of it being that is my number one priority. We're chipping away at getting the shop ready for to host people. In the current condition, we got a lot of storage stuff in here, so we're just trying to kind of go through stuff and clean some stuff out and just make it conducive for that type of environment. We're actually next week we're going to have some of the kids out to the house to check out the shop and maybe give me some ideas and stuff like that. So we're just kind of chipping away at it. I don't have any kind of timeline that I set on it. I'm not going to put any additional pressure on myself because I've got a full-time job. I'm also renovating the house. We've got a lot of stuff, a lot of irons in the fire. But this project is definitely important to me, and I definitely see that it will do good for not only myself but the kids and the community around my little small town. So we're just chipping away at it. I've basically just moving some stuff around, making it more conducive for having what we hope to be a large number of people attending. And just trying to get some ideas. I've got a wonderful group around me that have tons of ideas about different stuff that we can do, like installing a car lift and having the kids do like cheap oil changes for whether somebody doesn't have a ton of money to go to the dealership, and just learning skills like that. Teaching them something as well as providing a service back to the community that's not charging you an arm and a leg for plugging a tire or changing somebody's oil, or hey, I've got a small plumbing issue. Like I'm definitely blessed to know a lot of stuff. That like I had my air conditioner went out a few weeks ago and was able to get the capacitor changed on it. Just little stuff that could derail. As tight as money is these days with the fiat system that we use, every little bit that you can save, not having to call somebody and not having to be at somebody else's mercy, is extremely important. And that, to me, that's providing value to these kids that are just now entering the workforce and going to learn about taxes and stuff like that, and not going to have a ton of money to shell out for car repairs or getting their first house and not having to call somebody every time a drain's clogged or you got a leak in your roof, or just simple stuff like that. We've got a ton of ideas, and I'm just trying to keep it all together and not feel rushed to force something out there. I want to make sure that it's done in God's timing, which is the Bible is very very specific about trusting God's timing. So I've released that to Him. I pray about it every morning. and just looking for the opportunity to speak to people and maybe touch, if my message can get out to one person out of 100, that's one less person that will have to go down a path of learning stuff the hard way, unfortunately. So just trying to show Christ in everything that I do, any kind of interaction I have with anybody, which is sometimes hard with some of the people on the internet. It's hard to turn the other cheek or to not want to say something snarky and stuff like that. So just to live by example. Sometimes I get frustrated a lot with people over actions or doing this or that, and what I've come to realize over the last few weeks is that until I clean up everything that I can control, that I really don't really need to concern myself too much with what other people are doing. So just the small lessons in there that I've learned through the scripture and going to church and just really diving into that rabbit hole. That'll help me, for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good, healthy, natural pace and not pushing too hard, not trying to control too much, not burning out about it. It's kind of a serenity to doing what you can, letting some stuff go. Online, I'd have things I wanted to snark back about, and I'd just be like, no, I need to let go of all of this going on, step back and do what's healthy for me and what's really impactful and meaningful. I've got grown up older adult boys that I raised, and I think of all those good memories of, when we, as you build healthy, functional adults who are self-sufficient and capable, willing to learn, able to learn, and take direction and then teach others themselves. For my boys, for a period of time, Cub Scouts was good for them. But you get to really focus and tailor exactly what and how you do it, and then tailored for with your church as well. And it's just so much good training that kids need. And there's so many things. Just instead of with the capacitor, like our heat pump went out, and you could pay hundreds of dollars for a special guy to come out and spend an hour or whatever and pay $100, hundreds of dollars. Or you realize it's that swollen, overheated capacitor again, and it was $30. And I know how to change a capacitor or an oil change or a tire or, the fluids in your car, the little things. Thinking of your situation in your home and having a wife, I've got a funny sign in my garage that says, to the wives, it says, if a man says he will do something, just trust that he will. You don't have to remind him every 6 months about it.
That's exactly right.
Which I've also learned as a good husband, something comes up and I have my list of things that need done. She handles aspects of our domestic life and she's better at that. And I handle other things in our life, more outdoor stuff, but I handle that and we share things. But there are things that she relies on me to do. And sometimes the things that I see as all the priorities to be doing are not what she needs done now. And so it's good for me to I've got 5 things on my mind that, I should really, this needs done and that needs done. But if she mentions something about, say, the shower, I better do that. And my priorities are really kind of hers because if she's not happy or feeling nested, then I'm neglecting my duties as her husband. So
yeah, it's definitely all about balance. A couple of weeks ago when I was out here rolling dice for 6 hours or whatever, changing my setup, she was like, what exactly are you doing? I thought Bitcoin was safe. I was like, it is safe. I'm just being over cautious and paranoid. But she's been very understanding. And we've had some conversations about Bitcoin, some more conversations about Bitcoin. I've been kind of blessed. She gets it, but she trusts my, judgment and my guidance on as far as, how we're using it. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely blessed in that aspect. But yeah, I got to get her house renovated. So she, because our intention is, we were pretty black-pilled for a long time, and we had decided that we weren't going to have kids. Why bring kids into the world? Up until even 18 months ago. But she comes from a family that has had a few people adopted, and that's going to be our attention going forward in the next year or two to get the house renovated, get everything situated, and then adopt a couple kids. Well, I said one, but she said that she wants a sibling pair. So so that we're going to do that. She's really dove into the foster care program and just kind of using something giving back and taking care of some kids that haven't had have had a rough go of it so far. So that's our intention. So that does drive me to to go ahead and get the house renovated, because I'm fine. I'm a Bitcoiner, so I'm fine living in open flood.
I got a mattress on the floor.
I don't need to buy drywall. Let me buy some sats.
Yeah, right.
So, but it's all about that balance, and we can, I've been given certain talents, and I can use those talents going forward to accumulate all the sats that I want to later on, and that's why I'm a Bitcoiner, is to have that kind of savings to be able to do to pivot and do stuff like this, renovating the house and.
That is, it's awesome. I mean, the love that it takes in fostering kids, adopting kids, all those things, family is what you make, and it's not limited to blood. Your spiritual family can extend much beyond just, your own genetic line, but like, there's such a need in the world, and the difference you can make in that, when you imagine going forward with all that, the rewards, it may be, and it could be hard or frustrating or work or different and all those things, sure. But those rewards are invested in the long term and spiritually. I mean, what a gift, and a sense of love that you're extending to help others, not just with the program you're doing and the education, but to bring that into your home and your family and to take that on. It's a responsibility, but such a, I don't know what to say. You'll be blessed. I mean, it's amazing to do that, to be able to do that and to give more. I'm excited for you. That'll be really nice.
Yeah, we're excited as well. But just gonna get the house finished up, and then we're gonna carry on, chip away at it one day at a time.
Yeah, get some work done before winter comes or the next storm. So this has been awesome, Jonathan. I really appreciate the time hearing about what you're building, the journey you're on, what's growing in your world, the family farm and ranch, and all the good things and God's love. So thanks for sharing that. Before we go, is there anything else that you want to share or add to this that I didn't get to?
I think we covered everything. I would just implore anybody that's written off religion as and I've certainly got my qualms about organized religion.
Sure.
But as far as a faith in Jesus Christ, if anybody has experienced that and walked away from it, or you never experienced it before in your life, it is definitely the rabbit hole that I would ever suggest going down. All that other stuff, the Bitcoin, self-sovereignty and stuff, can take care of itself, but you really have nothing, in my opinion, without a deep relationship with our Creator and Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and when you're and you live in an outdoor environment as you do, you can witness that in life when you're outdoors, or you just take a moment, a quiet moment, take that time to contemplate it and take it in. And we're so surrounded by it in a way, and yet we forget it so easily when, the news is bad or the mainstream feeds a trough of Kool-Aid garbage, and we easily forget or don't allow ourselves to feel what's good, blessed, the inner spirit in our worlds. We get so distracted. And so to be able to slow down, stop, take it in, and appreciate it, not just superficially, but at the deepest levels that you can, and then expand and stretch that, and apply that, and make it a practice and a daily observance. It's who we are as beings on this world, that we need that to feed deeply our souls, and not just it's not taking a pill. It's not all the pills. It's deeper than that. And so I love hearing that you've been doing that, and have found that very strongly for coming up on a year now, strongly recently. So awesome.
Yep, it's been a while. It's been a wild ride, but I'm ready for it.
And it's not easy, but the personal journey, it's personal work, it's change, or it can give you that lift and float and assurance, but also forces you to get real too. Like there's things like I would think about in my life of like, I used to just hang my hat on this and think, oh no, I'm good this way always. And then when that's challenge, like it's fine when things are easier, but when life presents challenges or things aren't working, or I'm not seeing eye to eye with somebody, you don't find yourself in a crisis or stuck or lost. You have that foundation to stay on the path and remember your why in that direction as well. And so anyway, it's good stuff, man. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm looking forward to see how this evolves as you go, growing grassroots as you do and contributing to others. And I'm really excited for what's coming for you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the story, and we'll keep it going. And I'm sure we'll be back on to share some progress with you. But in the meantime, I'll keep in touch with you and let you know what everything that's going on.
Sounds great, man. All right. Looking forward to it. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Until next time. Bye.